Hey everyone, Sparks back with another Girls Frontline 2 Exilium video. I'm excited to get back into doing unit reviews and skill analysis. I've been gone on vacation for a while. If you missed my last video, I just kind of talked a little about where I've been. I was on vacation, traveling through Asia. It was a lot of fun. Go check that out in the description below if you haven't already. But let's go ahead and get into talking about Mechty, or Mechty as they say in the Japanese voice acting. I'm going to go with Mechty though. I feel like that's probably how it's pronounced in English. Correct me if I'm wrong. Please let me know. I've never really heard her name pronounced outside of just like the Japanese voice actors. So anyway, her role is basically a support for Peridia and Klukai, particularly for Peridia. If you don't know who Peridia is, she's the cat girl. She's in the normal pool of units, and pretty much everybody should have her by now. She can be a easily pick-upable unit. If you're brand new, you'll get her eventually, trust me. And Klukai is our newest and most powerful DPS in the game. So these are all big things going in the favor of picking up Mechty. She can lower the enemy's defense and increase corrosion damage, and heals her own stability. So these are all very good abilities. The main pros about her, other than what I've already said, is that she completes that corrosion team. Now, technically, we only really have 3 core units. It's going to be Mechty, Peridia, and Klukai, and then you can put in anybody else, right? Whether that's like Chongzhou, just for like extra support attacks, and she's OP all the time, or if you want to go with one of the like standard units, that's also Corrosion. I can't think of her name right now. Oh, this is bad. She is a Corrosion sniper rifle. Used to be one of my favorite units. Oh my god, she doesn't like speak normal language. Comments, help me out. I'm sure people are already typing before I even ask for help. But anyway, so you can kind of like complete that team with whatever 4th unit you want. But basically, Mechty is going to be the last one as far as like completing that core Corrosion team. Now, like I said, everyone kind of already has Peridia, which is great, so you already have someone for Mechty to help out. And Klukai is basically the best in the game, so if you pulled for her banner's active right now, then that's another reason to pull for Mechty. She's more useful in boss fights than stages with mobs, so the platoon events, the rotating like Gunsmoke Frontline, and the boss mode that happens, weekly, are where you're going to get the most value out of Mechty. As far as cons, she is, like you probably used everything on Klukai already, right? So if you have something left over, great, but like you have to like use your resources somewhere, and probably everybody pulled for Klukai. Also, there's lots of good units like Springfield and Vector and Belka coming up, so just keep that in mind. We'll talk a little bit more about that later on in the video. So let's get into her actual skills. Her skill 1 deals AoE corrosion damage to 8 tiles and gives her movement up 2. This is kind of, just her basic, not actually her basic attack, of course, but probably, her sort of go-to attack if you don't have, something specific you need to do, or you don't have enough confection index to do her ultimate, things like that. Big AoE attack is good. She buffs AoE attacks. She's all about doing corrosion damage as well. And increasing her movement is going to be always good in case she needs to get out of danger. Her skill 2 is a more classic support type skill. It increases her stability by a rather massive 6 points. And it cleanses any debuffs that are on her. So definitely a handy skill. Additionally, any nearby allies get a 30% buff to their support attacks, mainly Peridia, because she's going to be the main corrosion support attacker. And this is going to be a great buff for that. But the real good things about Mechty come from her ultimate and her passive, which kind of work together. So the ultimate changes the passive effect that we'll talk about in a minute from patch mode to turbo mode, and this lasts for 3 turns. It increases her attack and defense by 30% and gives her 2 CI points at the end of each turn. Basically, it changes her defensive passive into an offensive passive. It gives Nightmare Shroud to all allies that straight up increases corrosion damage. And I want to make that clear. It's not increasing corrosion attack. That is increasing corrosion damage. Also, my monitor just went to sleep for a second. What was I talking about? Oh yes, her ultimate. Yeah. So increases attack and defense by 30% and those 2 CI points, and then increases corrosion damage by 25%, which is massive. I mean, a straight boost to damage rather than attack is fantastic in any game. So definitely a very useful ultimate. So now let's look at her normal passive when it's not being switched by the ultimate that we just saw. It decreases damage she takes by 30% and decreases stability damage taken by 2. So it's definitely going to make her more tanky all around, especially when she's also healing her stability with her other skill. And this lasts the whole battle, so it just goes off at the beginning and she just has this all the time. It can't be dispelled. It also gives Nightmare to all allies, which increases AoE damage by 10%. Again, this is really good for both Kukai and Peridia. And it increases support AoE damage by 50%. And this changes the damage type to Corrosion as well. This is really good for Kukai since she's a big AoE damage dealer, but it's even better for Peridia because she does support attacks, and making all those Corrosion type is very strong, not to mention just the damage or attack increase from it as well. Also, something to note, Peridia does a lot of just sort of non-elemental attacks. So if you're looking for a way to tune your Peridia to work with Mechty, I would consider attaching Corrosion attachments to her weapon because of this skill right here, turning her support attacks into Corrosion type. That's going to be a really big increase to your damage. This skill is probably the main reason to pull Mechty, honestly. As we already discussed, her other skills are useful, and this works hand in hand with her ultimate, but these two just bump her up another tier. So very good skills, very, very good support for, a very, very powerful Corrosion team. But let's take a look at her weapon now. It's actually pretty good, but per usual, I think weapons are a low priority unless they're for your main damage dealers. That said, this might be the exception. You can build a highly offensive Corrosion team, and this will make Mechty ignore 20% of the enemy's defense on her normal attacks, and it also increases her Corrosion damage as well as your whole team's Corrosion damage, which is really important. So if you have enough, after getting 1 copy of Mechty, I would probably get 1 copy of her weapon, because the weapon just always increasing like Klukai's damage is reason enough alone to get it. So definitely go for that if you can already get a copy of Mechty, assuming you're pulling for Mechty at all, that is. But now let's take a look at her keys. Her keys have a pretty good range of different things that you can do, but the one that I think is most important is the one that gives her that one that applies Toxic Inundation to any enemy she attacks. It's just going to make them take even more damage all the time, taking that like debuff from Corrosion damage. So definitely give her that key. And the other one that CN players use a lot is the one that makes her toxic tiles on the ground. So just another hazard there for the enemy. As far as the third one, you probably want to go unlock her common key, or just pick something that's situationally specific for whatever it is that you're trying to do on that particular stage. But those two, I think, are like your core ones. The one that gives Toxic Inundation when she attacks an enemy, and then the one that makes toxic tiles on the ground. So if I can get 1 more copy of Klukai before she leaves, then I'll probably go for Mechty, because 1 more copy of Klukai will take me to V3, which was my goal all the time. I really hope I can get there. So then I'll pull for Mechty, but if not, I'll probably wait for her rerun, because I'll just be wanting to save more resources at that point. I'm kind of all in on the Corrosion thing on my account. Corrosion is by far what I've been focusing on, and Klukai is kind of my main girl next to Chongzhou. And I do think that is a good way to go. That said, I don't really think Mechty is necessary for some of the necessary, just because some of the future supports like Vector and Springfield might be more impactful, especially if you're not hyper focused on Corrosion. So let me know what you think. Are you planning to pull for Mechty? Was there any like important points that I missed about Mechty? Also, it's good to be back, guys. It's good to be back. Next video will probably be a Nikkei video as well. So I will catch you guys in the next video or stream. On Tuesday, it's going to be on Twitch. On Thursday, it's going to be on YouTube. All right. Peace.